now I am. So hopefully the class will get the rest of the material or the most important part, the syllabus. So that is why you need to be here. That's why you need to come prepared. Most of what you will be judged on for this class, as far as grading is concerned, will be your class contributions. Reading and discussions. You should follow the schedule of reading assignments found on the course schedule, which is currently posted in Canvas. I just finished it. Materials or access to materials, meaning links to if we have something else, are all provided. There is no textbook for this course. When you get to law school, you may sometimes have like a textbook that combines a bunch of cases together and then provides commentary just to help students as an educational tool. I never found them super helpful. I found it much more helpful as a law student to read directly from the cases and then discuss it. So, and that's most of how law school is after your first year. Your first year, you might have a few more textbooks, but your second and your third year, you will primarily just be reading case law and learning how to break that down for yourself. So that is what we are going to focus on, and that's the method and modality that I'm going to use. So you should follow that reading assignment. No textbook, but follow the reading assignments, and all the reading assignments are already in Canvas. So how your discussion works, each class period, there are a total of 10 discussion points. You will see in bold and italicized here, to be earned. And if it wasn't important enough, I just now highlighted it, to be earned. So how this will work, a sign-in sheet, not today, because today is the first day and it's a pass, sort of. We'll get into that in a minute. Sign-in sheet will be placed in the front of the classroom, or when we're virtual, I will take attendance at the first of it. Students are responsible for making sure that you have signed in and that I got you as here by the time that you leave class. If you make sure you're just here for the day, you get 5 out of 10 points possible. So if you show up and you say nothing, 5 out of 10 points. So you got half the credit just for being here. During class, however, I will monitor the participation of individuals who are actively involved in the discussion, like I anticipate you being and like I expect that you will be. If a student makes at least one verbal contribution per class, you'll receive an 8 out of 10 for that day. If you make more than one contribution per class, you will receive a 10 out of 10 for that day. So that means my expectation is that each student will talk twice per class period. And everyone know what everyone's thinking. How can you possibly make that work? When your class is entirely discussion-based, it's very easy. I have never, ever, ever had it be a problem where a student was like, I wanted to talk and I didn't get an opportunity to. That's never happened. There are lots of times where students don't want to talk and I have to just cold call on you because it's a discussion class. So if you are not volunteering, I will just start calling on people. I will start at the top of the roll and go down to the bottom until someone answers me. And again, you have to earn those points. You earn them by showing up and you earn them by discussing. So how much you earn on a given day is up to you. Given that we have approximately 31 meetings, that means there's approximately 300 points on the table with respect for reading or for discussion or discussion participation points. They may be more or less by the time we get finished by if we have to cancel any more classes or something like that. That's just roughly how many meetings will be there. That doesn't necessarily mean there'll be exactly that many, 300 by the end of the semester, but it'll be approximately that. Now, if you should miss a class and you want to make up your discussion grade for that day, you will need to submit an IREAC. We will talk about IREAC in just a moment. As long as you make a submission, an IREAC submission or a discussion submission in the Dropbox for that deadline or for that day, then you will definitely get all of your 10 points, but you have to do that. That's how you can make it up. Again, we'll talk about the IREAC when we get to kind of exploring Canvas in a little bit. Graduate students will also be assigned an additional reading to present once during the semester. So you will have kind of your own case that you may want and will relate to the material. And you'll complete the reading and prepare a 10 to 20 minute presentation. It should address the background of the case. We can talk about this more afterwards because there's only a few of you. So stay a little bit longer and we'll talk more about specific graduates, but it'll essentially be a presentation on a case and then a discussion where you're going to lead the discussion on the for the students, for the rest of the students that day. So graduate students, again, stick around. That's one of the additional requirements you have, presentation. The next is a midterm. You do have to have one written midterm. It is all essay. I am telling you that now. Get prepared. I will post some examples of like, I'm not going to call them winning essays, but A+ essays, and they will run the gamut. So you can see students who write 14 pages double spaced and that they got an A. You can also see students who wrote 7 pages double spaced and got an A, because that's not what I'm looking for, is a page length in my answers. I will tell you approximately how long I think it should take you to answer the question, but I am always open to a challenge. So if a student tells me that they can answer my question that I thought you needed a paragraph or more for, and they can answer it in 2 sentences, kudos to you. As long as you got the right answer, you're getting the points. That's how my writing exams work. So it will consist of short answer and essay only for a total of 50 points. It will be posted on Canvas, and you will complete, actually, I believe it's 100 points. I think that part is incorrect. And you will return your complete exam to the Canvas Dropbox. You will have, it's a take-home open note. So it does benefit you to take a lot of notes in my class and to write down anything you think is important. And the midterm release date and due date are already available in the schedule and posted in Canvas. You can't look at the midterm yet, but you can go ahead. It will, when it comes time, you'll see on the schedule, you essentially have the whole week before spring break to take the midterm. So it will open the Monday before spring break starts. It will close the Friday before spring break. And then as long as you submit it beforehand, you don't have to worry about my class while you're on spring break. You're done. Yay, wonderful. That's also the only test you have in here, because our final is a final debate. I have done this 3 semesters running now, and it has always been a huge hit. Every semester it gets better and better, I think, and the students get better and better at doing it. So I'm going to post a sample of it when we get close to the final debate so you can see what it looks like. But that's essentially what we'll do. We'll divide up, because there are so many of us, we'll have to do it on different days, and we'll participate in groups. And then will be a couple of things that, as we get closer to the final debate itself, we'll vote on. Usually how it works is I go through the Supreme Court's upcoming calendar and see what cases they have not yet argued. I present a few options to you. I let you as the class choose the cases that you're most interested in. And then the groups prepare an argument for both sides. Day of, we flip a coin that decides what side you're actually going to be representing that day. Then you will argue against each other, giving rules that I will lay out very clearly for you again by the time the final debate comes around. But just know that that will be what we do. And then once that is over, you'll do an evaluation and a reaction, but you won't have an actual final the way that you would in a traditional class. And that's because, no, I don't like grading. And 2, it's way more fun this way. Trust me. Every student I've had thus far says they prefer the debate to the other final options that I've given. So I trust that their assessments are correct and that you guys are going to enjoy it just as much. All right. So those are the big things you need to know. Those are the grading scales. Again, it says approximately 300. Just know that the only thing that's going to change that number is how many classes we actually have. There are always 10 points up for grabs every single time we meet as a class. So that's just the estimate. A couple of course policies to be generally aware of. I have 2 standing extra credit opportunities. There may be times throughout the semester where, let's say, the CJSA is having an event, and for attendance, I will offer extra credit. There may be times where the university is hosting some sort of raffle or some sort of drive for a population in need, where if you donate so many items, I will also offer extra credit or something like that. So those opportunities will exist, but there will be 2 standing ones, so that if you email me, don't ever email me at the end of the semester saying, MK, I don't like my grade. What can I do for extra credit? Look into the syllabus. It's already here. This is exactly what I'm going to tell you. Opportunity 1, you can view up to 4 CJ related films and documentaries and submit a 2-page reflection paper per film. Here are the guidelines. Here, you need to provide a brief summary. I have seen the majority of these, and even if I haven't seen the documentaries, I'm probably familiar with the case. So don't waste my time telling me all about the case. I already know about it. What I want more of is for you to share your thoughts on the material in general, and then demonstrate why you know this, why it's appropriate to read or why it's appropriate to watch in constitutional law. A full list of the films is posted in Canvas in the extra credit Dropbox. So like I said, you can do up to 4 of them for 5 points each, for a total of possible 20 extra credit points. That's a lot of extra credit. So if you're wondering at the end of the semester what you can do, look there first. The second one will actually come at the end of the semester. It is all about evaluations. As a professor who loves and prioritizes learning and involving my students, I love feedback. There has not been a single semester where I have not changed some aspect of my course or my course policies to accommodate feedback since I've been here for 3 years now, and I hope that that never changes. I hope that I continue to incorporate your feedback and that I keep getting good feedback. And the way I do that is that I reward you for it. So when it gets to the end of the semester, you'll be able to fill out seats for the University of Memphis. If so many of the students do that, then a percentage of you all do that, and a percentage of you all make an anonymous post on Rate My Professor, then you will get all as a collective class another up to 5 points extra credit. So when we get to the end of the semester, I'll remind you about the evaluations and how to get extra credit that way. But just know that that will be there as an option as well. Moving forward, I have a couple more late work and grading policies. Each assignment and exam has a due date that corresponds with like what I think is best and how I want to structure this semester, because I am the dictator here in theory, and it's my class and I get to do it. But I recognize that not everybody works on that timeline. I also recognize that many of you, and I know for a fact that many of you have full schedules because I'm your advisor and I know how many classes you're taking. And I know your professors are likely scheduling things at the same time I'm scheduling things. And to accommodate that and the reality that it is, we do things a little differently with respect to time in my class. So there is a due date for every single assignment. But every single assignment, including the midterm, will stay open until the end of the semester. So let's say I open January 24th's discussion. Those of you who are in class or here and talking, you won't need to actually post anything, but let's say somebody misses it. Ellie misses class. Ellie will have until the end of class or until the end of the class, the semester, to submit that if she wants to. If she does it within 48 hours of the 24th, no penalty, and doesn't need to tell me why she was late whatsoever. So you should complete the assignment or the discussion by the deadline or the due date or within an automatic 48-hour grace period. And that 48-hour grace period applies to everything, including the final evaluation, the final debate itself in person. I obviously can't delay that, but we'll have some workarounds if we need it at that time. It also includes the midterm. So anything you submit in this class has an automatic 48-hour deadline or 48-hour grace period. If you get it to me within that deadline, you don't even need to email me and tell me why it was late. You don't need to tell me that it was a tech issue. You don't need to tell me that your dog ate your homework. You don't need to tell me. I got you. 48 hours, I'm not going to grade it fast enough anyway. If it is after that 48-hour period, if you have told me that it's going to be late, again, like I told you earlier, I value communication and honesty. You don't have to be transparent so as to tell me all the details, but if you will at least let me know, hey, something happened and I wasn't able to submit, and I'm going to need more than 48 hours, almost always I will extend the deadline and you'll have, again, until the end of the semester. And as long as you do it by the end of the semester, you'll still be able to earn up to 100 points or up to the 100 points or 100% possible. If you submit beyond the 48-hour deadline and you have made no attempt to tell me why, and it's just there to be graded at the end of the semester, that is when you get penalized, and you will be penalized up to 20%. So you won't be able to score higher than an 80. And that will be on the final or discussion. So again, it encourages you to talk to me and just let me know. As long as you've let me know, you face no penalty. Those students who just kind of submit and don't tell me, you can't expect me to just know when that's going to happen and be responsive to that. So there's a penalty for that, but that's the only time in which you are penalized for being late. Otherwise, like I said, please take full advantage of that. You don't need to totally tell me what's going on. Just keep me in communication about anything that may be an issue. Academic integrity. Normally I'm just like, hey, don't plagiarize. It's important. With AI, this has gotten a lot more complicated. AI is banned in my class. I don't want you to use AI. With that said, AI detectors are terrible. I wrote a paragraph of my own and submitted it to an AI checker, and it told me that it was all written by AI. And that's not because I have a robot brain. I would like to think that I did, but my body has made it very clear that it is not a robot. Instead, it's quite a human and capable of decay at a rapid pace. So know that that's not true. AI does not, and the AI detectors aren't really, really good. So I'm not going to sit here and say, like, if you do it, I will know. If it looks like AI and I'm concerned about it and it doesn't seem like anything else that you've submitted, we're going to talk. If you tell me, hey, I used AI for this section, like a citation in a midterm, I'm not going to say it's passed, but I will at least not double check it and be concerned about you plagiarizing. So again, I don't want you to use it. If you do use it, cite it. That's the university's policy at this point. I support the university's policies. Generally, however, I think so much of my questions are very much geared toward asking for your critical analysis. So if everybody's starting to sound the same and it's not starting to sound unique and I can't recognize Andy, I know what Andy sounds like in her writing. I've had her a couple of times now as a student. I know what Abdullah sounds like in his writing. I've had him a couple of times as a student. I know what Nathan sounds like in his writing. I've had you as a student before. So just kind of keep that in mind. I know that I can't stop it. I know technology and things like this move faster than I can keep up with. Just please be respectful. And if I'm asking for your opinion, give me your opinion. I don't require it to be APA cited or anything like that. We're not talking about legal citations or anything like that. So I feel like if I can be that flexible and lower those recommendations for you, hopefully you can feel comfortable that you don't need AI to come up with your own ideas. So just kind of a note on that. Student accommodations, if you have any, please request them with my class. Just note, as I usually do for students, when I talk about the fact that physical and mental health are very important, the university doesn't just recognize physical disabilities. The university also recognizes under the Americans with Disability Act mental health issues. So if you are an individual who suffers from, like myself, post-traumatic stress disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, any of those things that at times make it difficult for you to succeed in class, you should be registered with the Students with Disability Services. That's not at all a knock. I am registered with the Student with Disability Services because sometimes when you're a cancer patient and you're on a lot of medicines, it gets hard to turn in your assignments on time or to show up on the day that you're supposed to and present at the exact moment if you have those overwhelming fears and anxieties and things like that. So that also goes for students who experience social anxiety. I know my class is predicated on talking in class, which not everyone is super comfortable with doing. If that applies to you, stay after class and let's talk, because we will find a way to get around talking 2 times in a class period without you feeling your social anxiety shoot through the roof. That's not my goal. So if you think that's going to be a problem, stick around. We'll have a conversation about how we can accommodate that because that is what we are here to do. I am your professor, like I said, here to guide you and make sure we get through this successfully, no matter what the issue may be. We jumped around really far. I don't know how that happened. Student health, there is an outbreak of COVID, RSV, strep, and I know this because my spouse tested positive for COVID and strep twice in the same month at the same time. It's like a month of quarantine for like a million different issues. If you are sick, once we are back in person, do not come to my classroom. I have an autoimmune disease. As a person who's had chemotherapy, lots of people have autoimmune issues. Don't come to class. I don't want to have to wear masks because it's very hard for me to talk and it's very hard for you all to understand me when I'm doing that. So to keep the university as best as possible, I don't want you anywhere near my classroom if you are sick. All you have to send me is an email that says, hey, I'm sick. I'm going to do the discussion, the makeup discussion. Great. No questions asked. I don't need any more. Don't need it. So just please stay at home. I don't want your sicknesses. Email and classroom etiquette. We talked a little bit about generally being respectful in the classroom, so I'm not going to reiterate all of that. I do, however, want to talk about email etiquette. Emails must be sent to my University of Memphis email. Do not email on Canvas. I don't check it, and it's not very consistent. Although Canvas is a great place to find the resources and keep them there all the time, it is not super great at updating and letting me know when I have an email waiting or anything like that. So please just send an email straight to my University of Memphis email. And also, if I'm going to email you, it will go to your University of Memphis email. We don't have routine access to your personalized email addresses, even if you've given them to the university. The university has them, not everybody has access to that. So if you're going to have a forward system, that's totally fine. Just make sure that if you're contacting me, it is through my University of Memphis email, and the way I'm going to, and make sure you're checking your University of Memphis email or having it forwarded, because that's what we're going to be using. It is also very important that you identify yourself and which class that you're talking about. I want every email from you to start in the subject line with CJUS 4531 or 6531 if you're the graduate student. And then I want your name and preferably your UID in the body of the email. Because if I have to look something up, those are the quickest ways to do it. If I don't have that information, that means I have to take even longer to go around it, which means I'm probably going to jump to somebody else to follow the instructions first. So if you want your email answered in the method or in the order that it came into me, please follow my instructions. This is especially true when advising period gets very heavy for me, because I will sort my email by advising emails, and then I will specifically search for class emails. So if you have correctly identified it as a class email by CJUS 4531 or 6531, I will immediately jump to those, answer those first, and get to you before I get to the hundreds of advising emails that I will undoubtedly have at that time. So it's very, very important. Failure to do so, like I said, may result in some delays, and the email will be added to the bottom of my queue, or I may just not even notice that it's a class email, and it may just get lumped in with the advising emails, which I'll get when I get to them. Also, university policy on non-response is professors and students have 48 hours to respond to an email before it is considered non-responsive. So if I send, or if you send me an email, and I haven't answered it after 24 hours, am I going to appreciate you sending a follow-up email that says, hey, did you get my email? What do you guys think? Yes, no, maybe so. I'm saying the head, yes, we're seeing thumbs down, head, no, I don't. I have 48 hours. Give me that time. I will give you that time. So like I said earlier, it's a very much a rapport-based relationship and exchange in my class. So at any point, if that is an issue, please give me the 48 hours. I will get back to you. But I do very much insist on very clear work-life boundaries in my class. I hope that you have them for yourself as a student. I recognize that it's not as easy for students as it is for professors to have work-life balances. But that does mean that if the university is closed, I will not be answering emails. If the university, it's a weekend, not guaranteed to answer the email. If I have an out of the office day because I'm sick, I'm not guaranteed to answer my email. So just keep that in mind anytime you're trying to have questions, or you have a question, you need something answered, and it may be something that you want answered quickly. If it's on the weekend, I'll get to it on Monday. If it's on a Friday and you send it at 4:50, I'm going to get to it on Monday, and not a moment before that. So, and I don't expect you to do the same. If I send you an email at 4:50 on a Friday afternoon, I don't even expect you to look at it until Monday. So I very much operate on the reciprocity, the idea that how you want to be treated and how I want to be treated should be the same, and that we're going to get together through this as adults, hopefully with me guiding you, but also hopefully me learning from you in a way that I do every single semester from all my students. So that covers all of my course policies, and you can look at the schedule upcoming. If you will jump to, I'm going to share screen one more time so we can kind of look through Canvas together real quickly. This is just all of you. I will post all announcements about the class here. This one for the virtual classroom, like I said earlier, if we ever have to go back to virtual, always go back here. We will just jump right back into where we go. You don't need to ask any questions. Don't send any emails. This is the place to go if we should need to be virtual. You can also find the syllabus here. Modules is probably where you'll find the most helpful information. This class was designed to be an online class, so this is why you find a little bit more information on the getting started and all this good stuff. You'll also find our schedule here in the introduction. If you click on the schedule, you will see that I went ahead and just adjusted it for the fact that we have absolutely no class in the first week, and just adjusted that as a matter of course. And you can see that this week we are going through 3 in particular cases. Speech is going to have 3. I'm going to expect these to be read in the, or we're going to go through them, excuse me, in the order that they are listed. I will go ahead and tell you that all of these cases are, or most of these cases are fairly long. A couple of hints on reading through them. First and foremost, just read the 1 or 2 first. So if I have 3 listed, we're probably not going to get to the 3rd one on the next class period. It's just not going to happen. We're going to talk a lot. But we are definitely going to get through Alvarez, and we'll probably get at Stevens, which means that if you can't finish Holder versus Humanitarian Law, that's okay. Do your best. We'll probably pick up on it the next time. So that's a good way to kind of stay ahead and help yourself plan. We will always get through the ones that are listed before we move on to the next one. That is why you see down, if you scroll all the way down here to week 12 and week 13, they say TBA. If we get through all the material very quickly, which I do not expect that we will, we never do, then we will fill these weeks with some things you guys find interesting to learn about. If we do not, and what I think will happen, we will just fill those weeks with the remaining readings that we are not done with. So for next class period, I do expect you to have read Alvarez bare minimum. Couple of hints on reading it, which will show a few minutes when we get into IREAC and how to break down a case. So Alvarez will be the first one. If you look at the, go back to the modules again, you will see Alvarez is here. So you click on that, you can read the whole thing. You will also see the PowerPoint for First Amendment on speech. Because the First Amendment, we're going to talk about the 2 main parts of it, and I'll explain more about that when we start class on Wednesday. So we'll go through the PowerPoint, and then we'll start discussing Alvarez. The way that we will discuss Alvarez will be according to IREAC. So you'll scroll up here into Getting Started, How to IREAC. This is something you need to have read. This is something that every law school does. This is how you understand or start learning how to understand cases. This particular advice is from Columbia Law School, which is like a number 5 law school in the country, so it's very good. So if any of you are planning to go to law school, it's a great method to learn now. You will also may hear it called CREAC, IRAC, IREAC, lots of different versions of it. It all means the same thing. Essentially, it's a way of organizing the information in a case into a couple of concise things that professors are looking for. Specifically, the issue, what is the legal issue that we are deciding in this case? What is the rule that applies? So what is the legal rule that applies? The application is the hardest part for students. That is where the Supreme Court takes the rule and the facts that they have and pushes them together and says, based on what we have here, here is where we see the rule being satisfied or being applied. Thus, we get this particular conclusion. We will obviously spend a couple of times working this out. I do not expect this to be perfect. You don't even have to submit one unless you are not going to be in class, but I do want you to kind of get in the habit of creating one of these for each and every single case that we do, because it will help you when we go into class discussion, because that's what I will use to lead class discussion. I will start off with, hey, what are our general thoughts? And then the next thing I will say is, tell me the issue in this case. And then I will ask for a lot of people to give me how they framed the issue, and we'll talk through it about how maybe a law professor would frame it after that. So it'll be pretty formulaic. You'll get used to it after about the 2nd or 3rd class period. And hopefully you'll find this method very, very helpful, especially when we start talking about issues. They'll show you why there are issues can be framed a lot of ways. The problems in the cases can be framed a lot of ways. It'll show you how to write good issues and how to frame them the best, because law school and my class as a precursor to law school is all about what is the best answer, not which is the right answer, because there may be a lot of right answers, but is the best answer. And law school is all about competition, so that's what we're striving for. What is our best answer? Now, I believe in my class, all of you can get the best answer. That won't be true in law school. But for the purposes of undergrad, we're going to suspend it, and you can all get possibly the best answer. And this is how to do so. IRAC here, these are the explanation of it. So please take some time to read through this before we meet on the next class period. Going back to modules, there's another one on specifically tips. This is me going through this, and I go through IREAC itself. So if the reading portion isn't very helpful for you and reading through the Columbia tips aren't helpful for you, please watch this video that I've weirdly paused at a moment, and now I'm going to move because I don't like looking at myself. Watch that video. You can watch that for extra tips on how to do so. So I will expect that we are ready to IREAC US versus Alvarez on Wednesday, and we'll start on Wednesday with that. Now, that's when we'll also start your 10 points for discussion or participation will also start on that day. To earn your 10 points for discussion or participation today, you have an assignment. You will see under the introduction that the Constitution and amendments are listed. I expect you to read through the amendments. You don't need to read through the Constitution. Read through the amendments and then take the Know Your Rights quiz by next Monday. You don't have to take it by next class period, but by next Monday. And then next Monday, we will go over it together as a class because this will kind of set up the course for you. We're going to go through the 15 weeks as if, chronologically through the amendments and again, how they touch on the criminal legal system. So we'll first talk about speech and then assembly in the First Amendment. We will then talk about the ever popular and constantly discussed Second Amendment. We're going to learn some about that. Then we'll get into the Fourth Amendment. Then we'll get into the Fifth. We may add a little more in the Fifth Amendment. I have jumped it in past semesters because it's not one that has a ton of information for us. But I think if we have enough time, we'll get into some of that, or we may go back. But we'll definitely focus on 6 and 8. That's cruel and unusual punishment. That's a very popular one. And then 13, 14, and 15. Those are the Civil War amendments. We will definitely be working with those towards the end of the semester. So you will see when you read the amendments themselves, kind of what they're supposed to do. Take the quiz. As long as you have completed it before next, actually, as long as you've completed by the end of the semester, you'll be able to earn your discussion points for today. But that is how you will need to earn today's discussion points, will be to briefly review the briefly review the amendments and then take your Know Your Rights quiz before next week when we review all the answers during class. And then, of course, for next class period, we're going to start with US versus Alvarez and be ready to IRAC that. And will be very easy on the first one. So don't anyone get scared or think that they're confused about knowing what to do on this one. It's okay. Most of you won't know what to do. So we're going to do it and we're going to learn through it together. By the second or third time, this will be super formulaic for you, I promise, and you'll be ready to do this. And then for those of you who want to go to law school, you will be light years ahead of those little babies who didn't even think to take law classes and instead wasted their time taking English or poli-sci or something like that. All right, now that we've kind of gone through the syllabus, what we're going to do next time, my course policies, are there any questions, concerns, or anything else that you guys need to talk about before we meet on Wednesday? Seeing head shakes, not seeing anybody. Okay, great. So I'm just going to go ahead and end it there today. I'm going to stop the recording now. So if anyone has any questions, or specifically graduate students, if you have any requests,